At the Farnborough Air Show in United Kingdom, Nigeria told the world that a new bird will take over the airspace. The name and logo of the airline, called Air Nigeria or Nigeria Air, as many would indeed call it, were unveiled on that day. It was expected to begin operations on the 29th of May 2023 after receiving its first alleged Boeing 737-800 aircraft on the 26th of May 2023. What looked beautiful turned out to be the ugliest and poorly pancaked unveil of the national carrier.
It has been years since the promise was made amid stakeholders voicing concerns about ongoing challenges, including infrastructure deficiencies, safety issues, financial instability, and regulatory obstacles affecting the sector. Security threats and high operational costs have also cast shadows over the industry's prospects. Just recently, the House of Representatives invited the immediate past Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, for questioning over the controversial national air carrier Nigeria Air since 2016. Our conversation will look at the turbulence and challenges that the aviation sector has faced in the outgoing year. We will also be looking at the possible solution and how the past minister's role impacted the sector. We'll also speak about the roadmap set aside by the current Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development. Our guest is an expert in aviation matters, the publisher CEO, Aviators Africa, Tony Ukachukwu. Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to be here.
All right. Okay, so we'll get into the conversation. We have another guest joining us shortly.
We also have another guest who will be joining us as an aviation expert, no doubt, and he will be joining Tony to indeed break this situation down. We also have Olu Ohunaya, who joins us as well. Good morning to you, and thank you so much for being here as well. All right. Okay, great. All right, so let's come back and start the conversation here first off. Our very conversation, I will look at the aviation sector in 2023. My question is always straight and direct. Why has Nigeria not gotten it right? And this is 2023.
When you say Nigeria has not gotten it right, is it as regards the
national carrier? In regards to the
carrier?
national carrier.
Okay.
Let's start off with that.
So basically, I will start by saying that the national carrier idea is a good one. What stakeholders are worried about is the way the past administration, the past Minister Hadi Sirika, went about implementing the idea. So in entirety, the idea is a good idea, but we are worried about implementation, and that's why the stakeholders and the industry pundits kicked, and then, of course, it was now a roller coaster down the hill, and it never came to fruition.
Okay, so let's talk about, I mean, you've given us an overview of what exactly led to it. Yesterday, we started the conversation about the aviation sector and what has exactly gone wrong. The House of Representatives have summoned the former Minister of Aviation as well as the current one to come and explain what went wrong with the carrier, the national carrier. Question is, where is Mr. Hadi Sirika, and are we looking forward to seeing him come in to answer to the House of Representatives?
Well, I'll just, this is the funny bit, but, Hadi Sirika is actually in our WhatsApp group, in the aviation group that we have. But anyway, that's just on the nice lighter side. But I worry about, the House of Rep always summoning these people to come to answer to issues, but at the end of the day, we'll never get any credible, solutions or consequences for the actions or inactions. So for me, it's now like, they can't bite. So because this is not the first time, the committee on aviation will invite, people that have playing various roles in the aviation sector to come answer to some issues. But at the end of the day, nothing happens. Go back to just being the normal. So I don't see anything coming out from the, the request for them to come answer.
All right, let's bring in Mr. Olu Ohunaya to find out if he has same sentiments regarding Hadi Sirika. Talk to us. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think I agree with Tony there. I'm not looking forward to the House of Reps summon. I'm tired of, that will be about the fourth or fifth time the House or Senate committee will be calling the Sirika and other players on the issue of the Nigerian Air. I think we're tired of that. I think rather I want to see them look at the budget and other expenditure under Hadi Sirika in the last 8 years, and see how the expenditure and the budget has matched what's on ground. I think that's more important to me for them to look into, rather than continue to dig into the Nigerian Air issue. For us in the industry, I think we should just let Nigerian Air rest and look forward to another type of carrier that can come either as flag carrier or a national carrier. Rwanda today has Qatar Air partnering with it. That is kind of partners we are looking for. I'm not looking for a co-competitor in the African region like Ethiopian Airline, because we are both going to we are both going to operate in the certain environment, and which gives the liberty to fly to any city you want within Africa. So I am not looking for an African airline that will partner our carrier, maybe flag or national. I'm looking at an airline outside the continent, and if it has to be an airline within the continent, then it will not be one that is operating rigorously to 4 cities in Nigeria. It will probably be an airline from the southern part of Africa, maybe South African Airways or another South African airline that will be that synergy. While we help them with the distribution within the West African region, they also will help us with distribution within the South African region. They will begin to share how we work around the Central Africa or North Africa. Again, I don't mind the North African partner. Unfortunately, I've not seen a very strong airline there, privately owned or nationally owned. So that might not work out, but I don't mind if anyone can come from the southern part of Africa. But for now, I think the Ethiopian Air option is not a good one for Nigeria in terms of the competition and in terms of what the strength they have on ground. We will just be a feeder team to the Ethiopian carrier. And that's why if you look at what happened in the deal, they will maintain the aircraft, they will bring the management staff, they will do the training, they will provide the aircraft. So invariably, almost about 70-80% of funds being paid out by that airline for services will be going to Ethiopian Airlines team and management, and that wasn't good for us, and I don't look forward to that deal. But like I said, we are tired of the probe.
All right, I want us, I just want to follow up from something that Mr. Ohunaya has said. He's made a lot of valid points, but talking about the Nigeria air carrier, he's inferred that we should move on from it. Now, there have been allegations about the billions that the federal government, the last administration, spent on that. Do you think that this is something that Nigerians should actually move on from? And that, yes, you said that you're not positive about the House of Reps getting to the root of this, but is this something that we actually should just move on from and look to other opportunities?
I think as Nigerians, we are always quick to move on from things, but I don't really think that's the way to go. I mean, on a general scale, but coming to the aviation sector, if we're going to talk about accountability, then moving on from issues should not be the way to go. I mean, we should move on because we'll spend more time dwelling on this and not getting positive response, which is why Olu is saying we should move on and save time to, work on things for the future. But for accountability's sake, for precedent's sake, we need to look back from where we are coming from to be able to know where we are going to. So for that sake, I think that the government has set this aside for now, but I think at their own time, they should go back and critically look at it, what transpired, with those funds and the processes and implementation and the agreements, with Ethiopian Airlines and all the stakeholders are involved. I think that should be done, so that people can understand where we're coming from and critically be able to not make such mistakes going forward. That's my view.
Well, great view and great thoughts. I mean, a lot of persons, yesterday we talked about having you and, of course, Mr. Olu on the show, and a few persons did send in their questions. And when we checked the questions, most of them still bordered on what has happened in the past 8 years. Looking at the fact that we're in another dispensation and we're expecting Festus Keyamo to indeed perform magic. We're going to come to Festus Keyamo yet. That's the Senior Advocate of Nigeria, the Minister, of course, of Aviation and Aerospace Development. But before we do that, we'd like to dig a little more deeper. So let me ask Mr. Ohunaya quickly. You've mentioned the partnerships that we're looking at. But in the past 8 years, it was touted that there was going to be a partnership with one of the airline operators. And then, when Nigeria Air was indeed launched, an investigative journalist took it into his own folder to follow thoroughly, citing that the plane came all the way from Ethiopia, possibly made a stop and was, sprayed and painted, and then all of a sudden it was brought into Nigeria with what they call rent a crowd, who came and they were smiling sheepishly, trying to clap and applaud what was done. I don't think we should move away from that. And why we say so is the reason why we have both of you in the studios. Can you share with us what that situation, that beauty that was put in place, what it has done to the investment opportunities for the aviation sector? Because you have international communities watching. You have said you want them to come in and invest, you know, an international carrier. But they're seeing what is going on. So how has that impacted on the future of the aviation industry in Nigeria?
Sincerely, I think I was grossly misunderstood there, even by Tony.
We apologize for that. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, because I never said move on. I said we should move on from the concurrent and repeated House of Rep calling on the Nigerian issue. Okay. Yeah, and remember in the other part I said all funds allocated for budget and other expenditure under that government of Hadi Sirika, that's an area I need them to look at and investigate. They should put their combs there to see how much was collected from the Treasury, how much was spent, what it was spent on, and what are the benefits to the industry. That's an area I need them, because Iman was getting concurrent approvals from the Federal Executive Council that all he had to do was just come in and they will ask him to take about with his proposals, and whoops, it's approved. That's the area I'm asking that we should concentrate on, not on the repeated public hearing on what happened to Nigerian Air and what can be done about Nigerian Air. Nigerian Air, for me, should be rested, and we should start looking for a new team and plan it all over again that will benefit the country. Look, I was going through a report yesterday on African aviation in 2023 in the perspective. The Nigerian Air issue was the one that headed the area of scam. It was titled Scam, Aviation Scam in Africa, and it was the Nigerian Air issue that was there. Again, it wasn't one journalist that brought it to the fore. You see, the internet does not lie. It is open to everybody. So everybody, we just click on it. The number of that aircraft tells you where the aircraft was coming from, where it's going to, and even the flight time. So everything was open to everybody. There was no secret. There was nothing to investigate. You just click on your laptop, put the aircraft number, and I could see it. That aircraft came in from Ethiopia to Nigeria for the display, and the deceptive water cannon salute that he got at the airport was also deceptive, because that water cannon salute was only meant for the first scheduled flight of an airline into an airport, it's not a static display. And after that static display, the aircraft flew back to Ethiopia and operated the next day to Mogadishu. But when Ethiopia Airlines put an aircraft to go from Addis Ababa to Mogadishu, of all places, you can imagine the quality of the aircraft that they will put on the Mogadishu route. And that's why they don't allow journalists or anybody to go inside the aircraft to see what was inside the aircraft, the cabin, and where we would have exposed the government. But rather, they stood by the foot of the aircraft, snapped their shots, and we're celebrating. But for me, we can't keep dwelling on this. We've been on this for the past, like you said, I saw you put in 2018. I've been on this. This is about the 5th time we are attempting a national carrier project, and it has failed. So if we cannot get it at a national, why can't we just allow flag carriers to bottom? Some of these private airlines can attract partners, and all we just need is that enabling environment, that support that you must give to them. And in giving support, the investors also want to see what support they've got, because they know for the African aviation space, you can't just leave it entirely to the private sector. There must be some level of government participation. There must be some level of government support. When I say participation, it does not mean you should invest, but they must see that the government is behind, because that's only protection you give to this airline when they step outside your country, and that is what is needed at the moment.
All right, very, very, very detailed explanation you've given, and thank you for sharing that. I'll come to Mr. Okachukwu. Give us an idea of what checks and balances in the aviation sector currently exists. I mean, if we're talking about accountability, if there are a number of things that were done wrongly, maybe, I mean, that's why you're the expert, maybe they're not structures that would afford checks and balances from the top to the bottom. So give us an idea of what structures were there at the last administration, what structures are currently there, and maybe what needs to be improved on.
Okay, thank you very much. So to start with, the last administration, there were no boards for the parastatals, so there was no checkmating the MDs of the parastatals. You know, Hadi Sirika did not appoint boards, you know, for the better part of the 8 years. So it was just, you know, MD Hadi Sirika, Federal Executive Council. So nobody was checkmating the minister, okay? Because if the MD of any parastatal comes to something, they should be answerable to the board, you know, to say, okay, this is how. But nobody was, you know, no board was formed. So this is one of the loopholes in the last administration. And I'm not saying that with boards it's foolproof, you know, but these are checkmates that can help strengthen, you know, for accountability purposes. So looking forward now, well, I'm hoping that this administration, I mean, they've of course sacked all the directors of all the parastatals and all the MDs and appointed new ones. I'm hoping that they also go further to appoint, to strengthen the boards. I think they didn't touch the boards that had the speaker appointed in the last minute, and the legal representative. So I'm looking that this structure should be set in place to make sure that there's accountability going forward.
Okay.
There's a lot to cover in a short time. But let me come back to you, Mr. Ohunaya. Let's leave this Air Nigeria for now. Let's look at the current minister. He has been appointed. In his appointment, many said he has no iota of experience or idea in the aviation space. How is he able to ensure that he can drive it to get to that level where everybody in Nigeria will be able to say, yes, we finally got it right? So my question to you is, do you see the minister, Festus Keyamo, being able to achieve a lot? And his recent appointments, what do you make out of that?
Well, I think as a senior advocate of Nigeria, I think it's knowledgeable enough to know what the rules of engagement is and how to manage parastatals. It was first in the Ministry of Labor that has given experience of how to deal with the civil servants. But like what we have noticed in the past 16 years, there's always that it's my turn, and it's my turn to do it, and I need to do it with my own team, and that's what's played out. What played out was we were expecting it wasn't as if we were shocked. We were even surprised it delayed for so much. Delayed for about 4 or 5 months. The removal of the agency heads, that was done, and again it went down to the directors and wiped the whole body. But I think my problem is, why would you have to? We're already complaining about the huge number of directors and directorates in the agencies, and he has returned the directorate and even added more to it, and that will be. And I feel that will give the agency some stress in financials and also in efficiency. I was surprised to see a director of special duty. Now, when you have appointed a director for special that was not in existence, you now begin to look for GM special duty, DGM special duty, AGM special duty, manager special duty, and that is more stress for what's the director special duty for? And even the ones that are there already, because some of them some of the directors should go underneath one of the directorates rather than being an independent director. And I think just this mantra of the parties is time to give job for the boys, and so you need to expand it. I am not so happy with the number of directors that has been released by him. I think that will put more stress and will not help with the efficient running of the administration. But for the agency, I think I applaud him. I can say a mix between core professional and a new breed. And for the first time, we saw the ethnic spread in the agency head, not like what we had in the past, but with this where the minister comes from, that majority of the agency heads will come from, leaning towards their region. And that's why you see as they're coming in, they're employing and bringing people from their area. But this time around, there's a spread between the north and south of Nigeria in his appointment, between the technocrats and non-technocrats. And I think I applaud that. That mixture I saw from the appointment of the agency. But for the directorate, I think I'm not too happy with it. That's going to cause more stress for the agencies, and that coupled with he has not even mentioned what he's going to do with the board of directors. Like Tony said, the board of directors is supposed to be one that will checkmate both the management and the minister, and that board of directors should come in immediately as quickly as possible. I think that's the only way he can tell us that yes, he is here to ensure that the system works and that he's not here to colonize or direct the agencies. The board of directors, board of directors for agencies is in their act, so it is not a matter of choice, but it's a matter of necessity. That's why we're shocked that after shouting, preaching, and begging, even with the former chairman of APC telling the Hadi Surgical to put a board in place, he refused. But barely 24 hours to his departure, he named a funny-looking board that was immediately removed by the new government.
What do you think was his underlying motive for doing this just before leaving in the office? What do you think might have been his underlying motive?
He was only trying to get his men who he could not accommodate in his past appointment into a position, and that was not going to work with the new government and the new minister. If he had known, if he had it in mind, if he knew that that was a very good responsibility of him to have appointed the board, they would have done it in the last 7 or 8 years. Why the last minute? So you knew it was a responsibility. You knew it was in the act. You knew it was compulsory. You knew it was mandatory. You knew it was effective. Yet you failed to implement, and now wanted to impose on the new government to have your men. And I think I applaud the government for removing everybody in that board and shutting down the board completely. I think the board secretary that I left behind also should also be removed, and the new team put in there.
Wow. So many areas to look at. Mr. Akachukwu, before I ask you my next question, do you have any thoughts you'd like to add or agree or disagree with?
Yeah, so I agree with Olu 100%. One of the issues in this sector is that we have an overbloated workforce. So that has been an issue with the agencies. And
it's not just with the aviation. We see that happening at the federal level. And
so
overbloated cabinet, a number of people would say.
It's very overbloated. But one of the issues that I will point out is that because of what Hadi Sirika did in the twilight at the end of his tenure, led to the new administration throwing the baby with the bathwater. Not all the people that were sacked are not, doing their work. Perhaps had they didn't make the last minute appointment, these people have had the opportunity to come on board. But I must give credit to some of the people that were in the last administration. But unfortunately, because of the way Hadi handled things, everybody had to go. So this is reset, starting afresh. We applaud the new appointment. We're just looking forward to seeing them get to work.
All right. Okay, now my next question would be, as we're looking towards the next, maybe the next year, or this administration, and seeing how we can improve the aviation sector, it's important we look at the challenges that have bedeviled the sector. There's so many of them. There's the one of airlines struggling to repatriate their funds. There's the rising cost of aviation fuel, and many others. So talk to us about where we are currently concerning the airlines' ability to repatriate funds and the cost of aviation fuel.
We're in a very bad place, I must tell you, and this current administration and had, of course, Festus Keyamo, the Honorable Minister of Aviation and Aerospace, has a whole lot of work to do because he came in with a lot of baggage already there for him to fix. This trap fund is one of the major issues. I mean, I was in African Airlines Association, AGA in Uganda, and the VP of IATA was lampooning Nigeria for these trap funds. It was bad, barefaced looking bad for Nigeria as a country. So I think it's something where we need to address ASAP. I mean, we'll be repatriating some funds, and we're not, as a matter of fact, it's not only Nigeria that is owing. But the way we've been put on the searchlight, it seems like Nigeria is the bad guy. But I think for brand image and for us to be able to put this investor confidence, we should be able to repatriate these funds. This is not our money. It's their money. So
what's making it hard for them to, I mean, if you can help us understand, why is it so hard for them to repatriate their funds?
So it has to do with CBN and how they lodge their funds. I mean, I don't know so much about that area, I mean, it has to do with a whole lot of CBN, and all the policies that they have in place with repatriation of funds and those going under the table and doing above the table, doing with Forex and doing businesses. It's a whole lot of things that need to be unpacked, both on the airline side and, the CBN side. So, but it's a kettle of fish that is not looking too good for us. The issue is Nigeria repatriate these funds to the airlines that have worked for them. It's as simple as that. So there's a whole lot to be fixed. I've forgotten the second part of the aviation fuel. So it's also a critical area where we need to kind of learn how jet A fuel is gotten for the airline operators, because I mean during Sirika's time as well, it was an issue. With the rising cost of aviation fuel, and not be able to hedge it, and it's been, the airlines have been struggling to be able to deal with that. So we are hoping that with Keyamo coming in, a whole lot is on the table for him, and I'm positive that with his team, they should be able to crack it. But I mean, we should stop the rhetorics. Everybody needs to get to work.
I like that. Let me throw the same question to you, Mr. Ohunaya. What are your thoughts as well concerning these two questions? Challenges, and of course, concerning Jet A1 and the likes.
Well, let me start from where Tony started from. He started with the baggage. I think Tony meant, the carousel carrying the baggage that the new minister has met with is already faulty and needs to be repaired. Tony has said it all. I think the trap fund is a litmus test for us. It's a breach of international trade. because the bilateral air service is very clear about it. After payment of all taxes, charges, and all other domestic fees, the remainder would be remitted at the rate of exchange, official rate of exchange, not black market rate, official rate of exchange through the central bank, not through Malam Shehu, through the central bank. That's the only option open to the airlines to remit such funds. And because it's going to go to the central bank, the government has a responsibility to ensure that these funds are remitted after they have paid all their charges. And if they finish paying, if they've paid all their charges, why would this money be held down? Today, at the rate of getting aircraft, leasing aircraft outside Nigeria has become difficult because our partners do not trust us that we'll be able to pay or remit funds as due. So that has made leasing of aircraft a bit difficult for our operators. And that was why you saw that during this Christmas period, the fares went astronomically high. Last year, 3 days to Christmas, I flew to Owerri. I bought that ticket a day before. And I was able to fly that day because almost all the airlines operating that area went to release big aircraft to augment for the traffic at that the seasonal traffic expected at that period. But this time around, most of them could not go out to lease aircraft, so they have to use what they have to operate for the season. Again, the airports within that region closes about around 6 to 7 p.m. The non-extension of flying hours has limited the window that the airlines would operate, and that has also limited the frequencies that goes into those cities, and that also affected the fares. So we need to address these trap funds. We need to address the rate of the dollar to the naira and making it more stable and affordable. We need to allow the forex to be available so that the airlines can also have more ability to negotiate leases and also to get more aircraft in or repair the ones they have. Because we are all suffering the high fares now, both on the domestic and on the international route, because the demand has outpaced supply. And for the international route, we are not reciprocating what we have agreed and signed with the bilateral service agreement with other countries.
Okay, well, there's so many areas to look at, but we've unfortunately run out of time. I want to make sure that I ask the both of you this question, and if you can answer in 1 minute or less, I'd really appreciate that. Festus Keyamo has laid out plans to start compensation from January for passengers who miss their flights and to bring out the shame list for airlines who are involved in delaying passenger flights. How successful do you think this will be, and is that what we need at this time? Do you see that happening? So please, in 1 minute each.
Is that for, okay.
Starting from Mr. Ohio.
Oh, well, that's not his responsibility. I think that's the responsibility of the Civil Aviation Authority. All his acts talking about now, it's already in the Civil Aviation Act Part 19. All that was needed before now was implementation, and I think he needs to ask the Civil Aviation Authority to go ahead and implement the act governing it with respect to consumer protection. That's what is needed. Going ahead to announce on the radio and TV that they will pay compensation, he cannot implement it. It's only the Civil Aviation Authority that can implement. So we should allow the Civil Aviation Authority to do their job and just ensure that it is formalized as enshrined in the Civil Aviation Act, rather than go about on the TV.
So this is already enshrined in the Civil Aviation Act, but for the longest time we haven't seen that happening. So is there anything that can be done? Are we guaranteed that we can see a change, we can see less delayed flights, and we can start to see compensation for passengers from January 2024?
So the good thing is that the present acting Director General of the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority was the former Director of Consumer Protection who was charged with this compensation issue. So the right man is now at the helms of the regulatory body. So we are hoping that he will now exercise that and implement that act under the Part 19 of the Consumer Protection. So that's what we're hoping, because it's already there in the books, and he was a Director of Consumer Protection under the last administration. Now that he's now the DG, he should be able to put more emphasis on making sure that Part 19 under the Consumer Protection Act is implemented.
The truth is, if all of these is done appropriately, it opens doors for businesses to even thrive in Nigeria. I mean, the owners of the facilities will be able to house people, make money, of course. Monies can exchange hands, diesel and all that will be sold, and so on and so forth. What we'll do is we'll go for a quick break. We'll come back and take just one last question and wrap this interesting conversation up. You're still watching Breakfast Central on News Central. When we come back, we'll continue. Stay with us.